Welcome to Cider Tasting 101. My name's Colin Schilling. I'll be your host for the series. We're on location here at Schilling Cider House in Fremont up in Seattle. And what we're going to do with this series is just talk you guys through a little bit about appreciating and tasting craft cider. So what I want to do today is just walk you guys through a little bit about cider, and then in the following series we're going to go into more detail on each specific aspect of appreciating and tasting craft cider. So before we dive into talking about and tasting ciders in a little more detail, we want to touch briefly on what the categories of cider are we're going to talk about. So there are really three types. There's mass-produced, craft cider, and artisanal cider. And we're going to focus primarily on those second two. So one of the first things you'll notice when you get a glass of cider is all the variety and colors you can see. Here, this is actually the Wandering Aengus Wanderlust. It's a very clear, it's a very polished cider. This is actually Schilling's Ginger Cider. It's very, very cloudy and almost opaque and white in color. Schilling Berry, so this is a new one for us, and you can see that when you add different berries and different colors and things to cider, you can get some phenomenal different colors too that you may or may not get out of apples alone. We've got Schilling Sriracha Lime. If you could get really close up, you can actually see we don't filter this one at all, so there's little chunks of peppers in there. Julian's Apple Cider, and you can see it's almost crystal clear. Seattle Cider, Schilling Cider collaboration, Coffee Nitro Cold Brew. So this one you can see has got a little bit of that apple color coming through, but also nice little coffee haze to it as well. So the aroma on a craft cider. So one thing to note when you're smelling and appreciating the aroma of a craft cider is that your imagination really is what you should describe. So the first one I have here is Schilling's Dry Hop Cider. Yeah, so this one's got some nice fruitiness to it, definitely some apple. I get some mango, some pineapple, some citrus out of there, a little bit of floral as well. The next one I've got for you guys is the Whitewood Red Cap. Yeah, so this one's got a nice fruitiness to it, definitely a lot of apple on the nose. So the next one I have for you guys is the Two Towns Bright Cider, which is their flagship cider. So this one here. Yeah, so we got some nice, definitely some acid in there. You got some nice appley flavors and definitely a little bit of earthen tones as well. This beautiful cider here is the Bull Run Brambleberry. So I'm hoping to get some nice fruit notes out of this one. Oh yeah, it's almost caramely on there. You definitely get some almost cherry notes to it. Definitely some wild berry notes as well. Reverend Nat's Hallelujah Apricot. Oh yeah, this one is one of my favorite smells. So it's got a lot of that nice apricot, a little bit of apple on the nose, and of course a bunch of hops. And then the last one I have for you again is the Seattle Cider Schilling Cider Coffee Collaboration Cider. So I'm assuming that this one's gonna have huge coffee notes in it, which it does. Yeah, this one makes me feel like I'm about to dip into a cold brew myself, but then it's got a little bit of apple on the nose as well. So jumping into taste, you'll notice that with tasting ciders, there's gonna be a huge variety of different styles, flavors, and everything that you're gonna get out of cider. So much like aroma, you really describe what your imagination tells you, what you're tasting, what you're feeling. So if we dive into this Virtue Percheron we had from the last section, that one's got a nice tart apple flavor to it. You almost get like some Granny Smith flavors in there. Really nice, straight up kind of traditional style cider. So they use all tannin apples in this, high tannin apples that are gonna be grown at their location. Now if you move over to this cherry, which is made primarily with dessert fruit, so less tannins in those apples. This is the cherry tree from Original Sin. You get a little bit more sweetness in there that kind of complements that cherry flavor. A little bit of apple too, but it's primarily cherry in that one. So when you taste these, you're gonna notice that the character and the mouthfeel is gonna be a lot bigger on one that's made with high tannin apples. So that concludes our quick overview of Tasting Craft Cider 101. We're gonna have a number of other videos in this series that's gonna go into much greater detail on some of the points I talked about here. So if you wanna learn more about tasting craft cider, please watch the rest of the videos. And next time you find yourself in Seattle, swing by Schilling Cider House to try all these great ciders. Thank you. Cheers.